How's it going, guys? I hope everyone is having a great Wednesday. I am back here again for another movie time video, and today the movie I'm going to be watching is one of my all-time favorite horror sequels. It's definitely one that I know a lot of people love. It's a very popular sequel, and that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Like I said, just really fun, crazy sequel. Now, of course, there are a lot of people who dislike this movie, but there's also a huge fan base. This is definitely a film that has a big cult following. Now, basically this movie, I guess you would say it's the opposite of what the original film was. Because the original movie was essentially a bloodless movie. There were a few gory moments, but there really wasn't, a whole lot of gore in the actual film. It's mostly, implied gore. Like even the scene when Leatherface is cutting up the character Kurt, you really don't see a whole lot of blood. And I think that's what made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre different from a lot of other horror films, was there wasn't a whole lot of blood. It was mostly implied gore. But the first film was very real and very raw. And I think that's one reason why it's still considered a classic, because it was so realistic. Now this one, on the other hand, I say it's kind of the opposite, because this one is wall-to-wall gore. It's one of the first truly gory films that I saw. I think I saw Evil Dead 2 before this, and that was the goriest movie that I had seen at that point. I want to say I was about 9-10 years old when I saw that, and I saw this around the same time. So at that point, this was the goriest movie that I had ever seen. Of course, now I've seen a lot gorier, but back, when I was, like I said, 9-10 years old, this was one of the goriest movies I'd ever seen. And it does get to a point where it's kind of ridiculous, which is something I really like. It's just really over the top, just, incredibly gory scenes. But there's so many memorable moments in this entire film. First off, I'll talk about Bill Moseley's character, who has become a horror icon in himself next to Leatherface. Chop Top, he's such a crazy character, with his plate on his head, and he has so many great one-liners in this movie, like get that hog, bitch, Leatherface, get that hog, bitch, dog will hunt, and then music is my life, and all this stuff. One thing that's kind of funny about this is when I first saw this movie, I thought that Bill Moseley's character was the hitchhiker character from the first movie. I guess it's because they look similar, I think, but I always thought that, of course, now that I'm older, of course, the hitchhiker character, it doesn't make sense that he would come back, since he died in the first movie when he got ran over by the truck. But for some reason, when I was a kid, I used to think that he somehow survived, and that's why he had the plate in his head, was that somehow they managed to get him a plate in his head, and he somehow survived being run over by a truck. So I always thought that he was the same character. Of course, now that I'm older, I realize that they're two different characters. But he's just such an over-the-top, just this crazy person, and like I said, he has so many great one-liners in this movie. Of course, like incoming mail, and lick my late, you hog, bitch. Always talking about the plate in his head. He even talks about being in Vietnam, when he talks about having the flashbacks, after Leatherface accidentally hits him with a chainsaw. But yeah, he's just such an over-the-top character, and like I said, I think next to Leatherface, he's probably the most recognizable character of the original films. And of course, you also have Drayton Sawyer, who is one of the characters from the first movie, the oldest brother, and he's of course still making chili from human meat, and he's becoming very popular in Texas, and he's winning these chili cook-offs and things like that. So you kind of he's like the businessman. He's the guy who gets them the money, and Leatherface and Chop Top are the people who get him his product so he can put into his meat and start winning, and win the money and things like that. And then of course you have Carolina Williams' character, who is a DJ named Stretch, who ends up recording Leatherface and his brother end up killing these two college guys driving down in their truck, and probably one of the goriest scenes in the movie. And it's one of my favorites too. Is when they're on the truck and previously they played chicken, with them, and then on the bridge, they're driving down the bridge, and Leatherface and his brother are driving in reverse, and the Leatherface comes out and saws half the guy's head off, which I think is one of the best special effects. Tom Savini did an amazing job in this movie. Just so many great special effects. And it really proves that Tom Savini, he is one of the best. Regardless of what you say about him, he is one of the best special effects men in horror, I think. But yeah, I always like Carolina Williams' character, how she plays a radio DJ. It really gives the movie sort of a, and the movie came out in '86, so this movie does have this sort of '80s feel to it, which I really do like. I love '80s horror films, and this movie really feels that. The first one, of course, came out in '74, so it really feels '70. This one came out in the '80s, so it feels '80, like the '80s. And there's also a lot of great music in it as well, and that's one reason why I like Stretch's character. Her being a DJ, she plays a lot of some great '80s music in it, so there is some good '80s songs in the film. And then, of course, there's the actual score of the movie, which I think is very haunting, very dramatic, and it just has the movie has an entire great soundtrack overall. There's so many other really, really great scenes in the movie, like, so many things that stand out. One of the ones that I think kind of got to me when I saw it was when Leatherface, after he kills Carolina Williams, the guy Lefty that he, not Lefty, LG, sorry, LG, the guy that works with her, he cuts his, his face off, and then he puts it on her. And one of the crazy scenes in the movie is when when Leatherface dances with Stretch, which is such a creepy scene. But it does show that Leatherface does have a, he's not just a mindless killing machine. He does have feelings. He does have he does have a conscience in some way. Obviously, he's completely mentally, mentally, he has a mental illness, obviously, but he does have sort of a conscience, and he ends up falling in love with Carolina Williams' character, like the scene when he breaks into the DJ's, the radio station, and he, has that one scene when he has a chainsaw and he's about to kill her, and he ends up falling in love with her, and then he slowly runs the chainsaw up her leg and everything like that. Stuff like that when I was a kid, I always thought that was so weird, but I think when I'm older, I kind of get it more. Because you kind of see, when you see these horror, movies, a lot of them you see these people as you see the killers as mindless killing machines. But that's what I like about Leatherface, and that's what I like about Jason or Michael Myers. You know that they have feelings, and you know that there's death within their characters. And I think that Leatherface sort of falling in love with Carolina Williams' character, it really showed depth in his character. And it really made you kind of feel for him in a way. You kind of sort of felt that, his older brother, kind of treats him wrong, and he essentially was born into this family of cannibals, and he was taught to believe, to go out and kill people and then make meat out of him. And you kind of think, maybe if something happened, maybe if he was born to them and then maybe he somehow got away from that, maybe he wouldn't have became Leatherface. They're just, just some thoughts that I have about the film. But yeah, I do know that this movie is cheesy in a lot of ways, and I think that there's a lot of people who dislike this sequel because of the cheesiness of it, and then there's also a lot of people who really love it because it's so different from the first movie. And I really think that it's definitely a cult classic. I don't know if I would put this, as far as a horror classic, I don't know if I would put this up there with the original or with Halloween or all the other classic horror films. I would consider this more of a cult classic movie, but I do consider it a classic. I think it's one of the best horror sequels of all time. And just so many other things, like Dennis Hopper's character as Lefty. He's just so over the top in it. He's trying to investigate the death of his brother Franklin, who died in the first film, and he comes to this town, and no one really believes him that. No one really believes, that his brother was killed or what have you, and they just kind of think he's crazy. And then he goes after Leatherface and his family with these chainsaws. He just goes down to the amusement park. I believe it's it's not an amusement park, but I know it's a type of park that they're at, and that they are, underneath this whole park that used to be popular in Texas, and then it got abandoned. I can never really understood exactly what it was. I know it was like a park, but it didn't have any rides. I think it was like one of those places that I'm not really sure. But just him going down there and him screaming, I'm taking it all down, and he starts running around, just cutting all the cutting the beams so that the entire place would fall down, and just running around screaming with the chainsaw going. It's incredibly cheesy, but it's also just great at the same time, and I love his character. He does get a little bit annoying after a while, though. But yeah, just Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is an overall crazy movie, just a crazy sequel, one of the best, like I said, and I've always enjoyed it ever since I saw it. So yeah, I will be popping that in right after I'm done with this video. So anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a classic sequel, or do you think that it's really bad, like a lot of other people do? Let me know down in the comments. Anyway, guys, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everybody for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. I do want to say one quick thing, and this is sort of about my up-and-coming monthly Blu-ray DVD update. As you guys know, I always do updates every month. I'm actually thinking about doing away with that, and the reason why is because I'm actually saving my money up for something that's coming up in May, and I'm really not going out and spending a whole lot of money on movies. So if I was to do my update at the end of this month, it really wouldn't be that. I really wouldn't have a whole lot to show off, and I always like to have as many things as I can. I like to have a good amount of stuff to show off for an update, but sometimes, life gets in the way, and I have other things I need to spend my money on, or I need to save money, so it's kind of hard for me to buy a good amount of stuff, a good amount of Blu-rays or DVDs to show off at the end of the month. So I actually think I'm going to do away with the monthly Blu-ray updates, and instead I'll just post an update whenever I feel like I have enough movies to show off. So, of course I'll still be doing updates. They just might not be, they probably won't be monthly anymore. Instead, it'll be whenever I feel like, I have enough to show off. I do have some really cool things that I will be showing off in my update. I just don't have a whole lot. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to wait until sometime next month before I do my update. And I'm going to start just doing updates whenever I feel like I have enough to show off. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Like I said, once again, down below, let me know what you guys think about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. As always, if you guys want to follow me on Facebook, I will leave a link down below. If you're new to my channel, be sure to check out this video, check out my other videos. If you guys like my type of videos, be sure to subscribe. If not, that's fine too. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good Wednesday.